Before we dive in, please remember that this video is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not a certified financial planner, and this presentation is not a substitute for professional financial advice tailored to your specific situation. The financial markets and regulations are complex, so you should always consult with a qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. You just celebrated your 50th birthday. The cake is gone, the cards have been put away, and in the quiet moments a single heavy thought keeps creeping in. Am I ready for what's next? For millions of Americans, that question isn't just a thought, it's a source of deep, gnawing anxiety. You look at your 401k statement, your savings account, and you see a number that feels small. A number that doesn't seem to match the 30 years of hard work you've put in. The retirement finish line, which once seemed so far away, now feels like it's racing towards you, and you're afraid you aren't prepared. If that feeling is familiar, you need to know you are not alone. Not even close. The median retirement savings for an American household headed by someone aged 50 is shockingly low. We're talking about an amount that wouldn't even cover a few years of living expenses, let alone a 20 or 30-year retirement. It's a silent crisis happening in homes all across the country. People feel like they've missed the boat, that the game is over, and that they're destined to work forever. But what if I told you that's a lie? What if I told you that turning 50 isn't the beginning of the end of your financial journey, but the beginning of your most powerful, most impactful decade of wealth creation? That sounds like hype, I know, but it's the absolute truth. You can build more wealth in the next 15 years than you did in the previous 30, and this video is going to show you exactly how. This is not another vague lecture telling you to save more or cut back on lattes. This is a step-by-step, no-nonsense blueprint. A battle plan designed specifically for Americans in their 50s who are ready to get serious and take control of their future. By the end of this series, you won't just have a vague idea of what to do. You will have a written, actionable retirement plan. You will know your exact financial standing. You will know the precise amount of money you need to retire comfortably. And you will have a clear, customized roadmap to get you there. We are going to turn your anxiety into action, and your fear into a financial fortress. The secret lies in understanding the unique advantages you have right now, at this very age. First, you are likely in your peak earning years. Your salary is probably the highest it's ever been. Second, the kids might be out of the house or close to it. Imagine what you can do with the money that used to go to college tuition, braces, and feeding a small army. That cash flow is your new secret weapon. And third, while you don't have 40 years for compound interest to work its magic, you have something almost as good. The power of massive, focused contributions. The snowball is already halfway down the hill. Our job is to start packing on a lot more snow really fast. Your 50s are not a time for panic. They are a time for precision. So let's get to work. The very first step, the one we are going to tackle right now, is the most crucial and often the most feared. We have to get a brutally honest, clear-eyed look at where you stand today. You cannot create a map to your destination if you don't know your starting point. We need to find the "you are here" dot on your financial map. This process has two non-negotiable parts. First, we're going to create your personal net worth statement. Don't let the fancy name intimidate you. This is simply your financial selfie. It's a snapshot of everything you own and everything you owe on one single page. It is the ultimate scoreboard of your financial life up to this point. Here's how you do it. Grab a piece of paper, open a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. Make 2 columns. On the left, write assets. On the right, write liabilities. Under assets, you're going to list the current market value of everything you own that has significant value. This includes the balance of your 401k, your IRA, any other retirement accounts like a 403b or a pension. List the money in your checking and savings accounts. List the value of any brokerage accounts where you own stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. Put down the current estimated market value of your home. You can get a good estimate from sites like Zillow or Redfin. Add in the value of any other real estate you own, even the Kelley Blue Book value of your cars. Be thorough. This is your arsenal. Now for the right column, liabilities. This is everything you owe. List the remaining balance on your mortgage. List any home equity loans or lines of credit. List the outstanding balance on all of your car loans. And then, the big one, list the total balance on every single one of your credit cards. Add in any student loans, either for yourself or ones you've co-signed, and any personal loans. This is your financial baggage. Once you have those 2 columns filled out, you do the simple math. Total assets minus total liabilities equals your net worth. This number is your starting line. It might be bigger than you thought. It might be smaller. It might even be negative. It doesn't matter. Whatever that number is, it is not a judgment. It is not a grade on your life. It is just a number. It is data. And today, data is our best friend. Having this number, this clarity, is the first step to taking away the power that financial anxiety has over you. The second part of finding our starting point is to understand your cash flow. If your net worth statement is a snapshot, your cash flow is the movie of your money. It tells us where every single dollar is coming from and where it is going every single month. Most people think they know where their money goes, but they are almost always wrong. They're leaking hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a year and have no idea. This isn't about creating a restrictive budget, not yet. This is about being a detective. For 1 month, your mission is to track every single dollar that enters and leaves your life. You can use an app like Mint Personal Capital, or you need a budget which can link to your accounts and do this automatically. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way with a spreadsheet or a notebook. Log your paycheck. Log your mortgage payment. Log the grocery bill. Log the gas for the car. Log that $5 coffee that Amazon purchased, that dinner out. Everything. At the end of the month, categorize it all. Housing, transportation, food, debt payments, entertainment, personal care. You will be shocked. You'll find subscriptions you forgot you had. You'll see how much those small daily purchases actually add up to. This isn't about making you feel guilty. It's about giving you power. When you see that you're spending $400 a month on lunches out, you're not a bad person. You're a person who just found $400 a month that can be redirected to your retirement accounts. That's a discovery, not a failure. These two documents, your net worth statement and your 1-month cash flow analysis, are the bedrock of your entire retirement plan. They replace fear of the unknown with the power of cold, hard facts. They are your new reality. So your homework starting today is to build them. Get these 2 pieces of paper done. Because once you know exactly where you are, you'll be ready for the next most exciting step. And that's where we're headed next. We're going to take this data and use it to calculate the single most important number in this entire process, your personal retirement number. The actual amount of money you need to live the life you want forever without ever having to work again. And I promise you, the real number is going to surprise you. So what is that number? Forget the generic advice you've heard. Forget the headlines that scream you need $3 million to retire. Those numbers are designed to do one thing: scare you. They're based on national averages, on lifestyles that might be nothing like yours, and they often ignore the single biggest source of retirement income for most Americans. We're going to ignore the noise and build your number from the ground up, based on your life. To do this, we're going to use a powerful, but incredibly simple framework used by financial planners worldwide. It's often called the 4% rule, or its sibling, the 25x rule. Don't worry about the names. The logic is what matters. It's based on decades of market research that shows a well-diversified portfolio can historically sustain a withdrawal of about 4% of its initial value each year, adjusted for inflation, without running out of money for at least 30 years, and often much longer. Put simply, if you can live off 4% of your nest egg, your money has a very high probability of outlasting you. To get to our number, we just flip that logic on its head. If you can spend 4% a year, that means you need a total nest egg of 25 times your annual spending. That's it. That's the magic formula. Your annual retirement spending, multiplied by 25. The entire secret, the key that unlocks everything, is figuring out that first number. Your true annual retirement spending. This is where most people get it wrong. They either guess or they use their current salary. Both are huge mistakes. Your retirement spending will be dramatically different from your spending today. So let's get this number right. Grab a piece of paper or open a spreadsheet. We're going to do a quick and dirty budget, but for your future self. First, think about your biggest expenses today that will disappear in retirement. The number one for most people at 50 is the mortgage. If you're on track to pay off your house by, say, 65, that's a massive expense gone. If your mortgage, property tax, and insurance is $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 a year you will no longer need. Poof, gone. What else? Kids. If you're still supporting them, helping with college, or they're just expensive teenagers, that cost will likely vanish. Are you saving for retirement right now? In retirement, you stop saving. You start spending. If you're putting away 15% of your income into a 401k, that's another huge chunk of cash you won't need to account for in your annual spending. Think about work-related costs, the commute, the professional wardrobe, the daily lunches out. All gone. Add up all of these disappearing expenses. This is your retirement freedom number. It's the financial dead weight you get to drop. Now, for the other side of the coin, what new expenses will appear? This is the fun part. What do you want to do in retirement? Travel more? Let's be realistic. Don't just say travel. Get specific. Do you want to take one big international trip a year? Budget $10,000 for it. 2 domestic trips? Budget $5,000. You have to put a real dollar amount on your dreams. Do you want to pick up a new hobby like golf or woodworking? That costs money. Budget for it. Do you plan on spoiling your grandkids? Budget for it. This is your chance to design your life. And then there's the big one, healthcare. This is the wild card. As we age, our medical costs inevitably rise. Even with Medicare, there are premiums, deductibles, and copays for things like prescription drugs, dental, and vision that can add up. A good rule of thumb for a healthy couple retiring at 65 is to budget anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 a year post-tax for healthcare expenses. It's a sobering number, but we have to be realistic. So let's walk through an example. Let's invent a couple, Mark and Susan, both 50. Their household take-home pay is $90,000 a year. They look at their future. By 65, their mortgage will be paid off, saving them $24,000 a year. Their 2 kids will be long gone, saving them another $15,000. And they're currently saving $12,000 a year for retirement. So that's a total of $51,000 in expenses that will disappear. Their current $90,000 need immediately drops to $39,000. See how powerful this is? But now they add the new cost. They want to travel, so they budget $12,000 a year. They want to join a local club and pick up some hobbies, adding $4,000. And they're going to budget a conservative $10,000 for healthcare. That's $26,000 in new expenses. So, we take their new baseline of $39,000 and add the $26,000 in new spending. Their total annual retirement spending need is $65,000. That is their number. Not $90,000. $65,000. That's the amount of money they need to live their designed retirement life, every single year. Now pause and do this for yourself. Get a rough estimate. What expenses go away? What new ones arrive? Come up with your annual retirement spending number. Got it? Okay, because we're not done yet. We're about to make this number even smaller. The next step is to subtract any guaranteed income you'll have in retirement. This is the step that those scary headline articles always conveniently forget. For most of us, the biggest source is Social Security. If you're in your 50s, you've been paying into this system your whole life. It's not going away. It might be adjusted, but the benefit will be there. You can get a surprisingly accurate estimate of your future benefit right now. Go to ssa.gov. That's the official Social Security Administration website. Create an account. It takes about 10 minutes, and they will tell you, based on your entire earnings history, what your estimated monthly benefit will be at full retirement age, or if you take it early at 62 or delay it to 70. Let's go back to Mark and Susan. They go to the website. They find out that if they both claim at their full retirement age of 67, Mark will get about $2,200 a month and Susan will get $1,800. That's $4,000 a month combined, or $48,000 a year. $48,000 of guaranteed, inflation-adjusted income for the rest of their lives. Do you see what just happened? Their annual need was $65,000. But $48,000 of that is already covered by Social Security. So the amount of money their personal nest egg needs to generate each year isn't $65,000. It's just $17,000. $17,000. That is the gap their investments need to fill. Do you have other income sources? A pension from a former job? Rental income from a property? Add all of that up and subtract it from your annual spending number. The result is your personal income gap. This is the real target. Now we can finally calculate your retirement number. We take that income gap and we use our magic multiplier 25. For Mark and Susan, their gap is $17,000 a year. We multiply that by 25. Their personal retirement number, the amount they need to have saved and invested by the day they retire, is $425,000. $425,000. Not $3 million. Not $2 million. Not even $1 million. For them, to live the life they designed, the target is $425,000. Now it's your turn. Take your income gap and multiply it by 25. This is your number, your personal finish line. I want you to sit with that number for a second. For some of you watching, a wave of pure relief is washing over you. You thought the number was some impossible mountain, but it's actually a hill you can climb. You might even be there already. But for many others, that number, even after all our adjustments, still feels huge. Feels impossibly far away. You might be looking at your current 401k statement and thinking, there is no way. I've failed. Listen to me. You have not failed. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are, and for the first time you have a clear, tangible, real target. You've just replaced vague anxiety with a specific destination. You wouldn't start a road trip from New York to California without looking at a map, but that's what most of us do with retirement. We just drive west and hope for the best. You now have the address. You know where you're going. The question is no longer, how much do I need? The question is now, what's the gap between what I have and what I need? And what is the specific step-by-step plan to close that gap over the next 15 years? And answering that question is exactly what we're going to do next. We're going to take a brutally honest look at where you stand today, your assets, your debts, your investment strategy or lack thereof. We're going to build your personal financial snapshot, your starting point on this new map. Because only when you know exactly where you are, can you build the most efficient path to where you need to go. So let's get our hands dirty. The very first step is to assemble your financial X-ray. We need to see the bones of your financial life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I promise you, this isn't about judgment. It's about diagnosis. You wouldn't want a doctor to start prescribing medicine without a full checkup, right? This is your checkup. We're going to tackle this in 3 distinct, manageable pieces: your net worth, your cash flow, and your investment inventory. First up, your net worth. This is the 30,000-foot view of your financial health. It's a single number that answers the question, where do I stand right now? The formula is incredibly simple. It's everything you own minus everything you owe. Assets minus liabilities. That's it. Let's start with the asset side of the ledger. Pull out a piece of paper, open a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. We're going to list everything of value. First, the easy stuff, cash. What's in your checking accounts? Your savings accounts? Any money market funds or CDs. Write down the current balances. Next, your investments. This is the big one for most people. Go log into your 401k or 403b from your current job. Find that old 401k from the job you left 10 years ago that you never rolled over. Log into your IRA, your Roth IRA, your spouse's accounts if you're planning together. Open up that brokerage account you started on a whim. We need the current market value of every single one of these accounts. Just the total number for now. We'll dig into what's inside them later. Don't forget health savings accounts or HSAs if you have one. Many people use these as a stealth retirement vehicle, so that balance is a crucial asset. Now let's talk about real estate. What is the current estimated market value of your primary home? Don't use what you paid for it 20 years ago. Don't use the tax-assessed value. Go on a site like Zillow or Redfin and get a realistic, conservative estimate of what it would sell for today. Do the same for any rental properties or vacation homes you might own. Finally, any other significant assets. This isn't the place to list your furniture. But if you have a classic car worth $50,000, a valuable art collection, or other major collectibles, list a conservative value for them. Add all of this up. This is your total assets. It might be bigger than you thought. Now for the other side of the equation, your liabilities. What you owe. This list is usually shorter, but it's just as important. Start with the biggest, your mortgage. What is the outstanding principal balance on your home loan? If you have a second mortgage or a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, list those balances too. Next, any car loans. What do you still owe on your vehicles? Then the tough ones. Credit card debt. List the balance on every single card. Be honest. This is for your eyes only. And finally, any other loans, personal loans, business loans, and yes, student loans, whether they're yours or ones you've co-signed for your children. Add up all those debts. That's your total liabilities. Now for the moment of truth. Take your total assets and subtract your total liabilities. That number, that is your net worth. Take a second and look at it. For some of you, it might be a wonderful surprise. For others, it might be a shock. Whatever it is, don't attach emotion to it. It's not a grade. It's not a measure of your worth as a person. It is simply your starting coordinate on the map. It's your "You Are Here" sticker. Now that we have the 30,000-foot view, we need to zoom in. We need to look at the day-to-day, the week-to-week reality of your finances. This is step 2. Understanding your cash flow. If net worth is your position, cash flow is your velocity and direction. It tells us if you're moving towards your goal or away from it, and how fast. Simply put, cash flow is the money coming in versus the money going out each month. The goal is to figure out what's left over, your monthly surplus, which is the raw material for your retirement savings. First, the easy part again, money in. What is your total monthly take-home pay after taxes and other deductions from your paycheck? If your income is variable, look at the last 6 to 12 months and find a conservative average. Add in any other regular income, from a side business, a rental property, anything else that reliably hits your bank account. That's your total monthly income. Now for the hard part, money out. This is where the financial gremlins hide. This is where most people's plans fall apart because they're working with what they think they spend, not what they actually spend. We need to become a detective for 1 month. You can use an app like Mint or Empower Personal Dashboard, which automatically connect to your accounts and categorize your spending. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Go through your last 30 to 60 days of bank and credit card statements with a highlighter and a spreadsheet. Group your expenses into 3 buckets. Bucket 1, fixed costs. These are the big, predictable bills that hit every month. Your mortgage or rent, your car payment, insurance premiums, property taxes, childcare, and any loan payments. Bucket 2, variable necessities. These are things you need, but the cost changes. Groceries, gasoline for your car, utilities like electricity and water, your cell phone bill. Bucket 3, discretionary spending. This is the wants category. It's everything else. Dining out, that daily Starbucks run, your Netflix and Hulu subscriptions, hobbies, shopping for clothes, vacations, concert tickets. Everything. Be brutally honest. Add up all 3 buckets. This is your total monthly spending. Now, take your total monthly income and subtract your total monthly spending. The number you're left with is the most important number in this entire exercise. It is your monthly savings potential. It's the gap between what you earn and what you burn. Is that number positive? Great. How positive? Is it negative? That's a red flag we need to address immediately. For so many people I've worked with, this is the single most eye-opening part of the process. They see that they're spending $700 a month on restaurants and takeout, or that a handful of forgotten monthly subscriptions are adding up to over $1,000 a year. Finding these leaks isn't about deprivation. It's about conscious spending. It's about ensuring your money is going towards what you truly value. And at age 50, what you should value most is funding your future freedom. Okay, we have our position, our net worth. We have our velocity, our cash flow. Now we need to look at the engine that's going to get us to our destination. Your investments. This is step 3, the investment inventory. For this step, we're going back to those investment account statements we looked at for the net worth calculation, the 401ks, the IRAs, the brokerage accounts. But this time, we're not just looking at the total value. We're looking under the hood. We need to answer 2 critical questions for each account. 1, what am I actually invested in? And 2, what am I paying for it? First, what are you invested in? Look at your statement or online portal for something called asset allocation. It will show you a pie chart or a percentage breakdown. What percentage is in stocks, also called equities? What percentage is in bonds or fixed income? What's in cash? Are you in US stocks or international stocks? Large company stocks or small company stocks? You don't need to be an expert, but you need a basic picture. Many people set up their 401k when they were 35 and never touched it. They might be in a super aggressive 90% stock allocation that was appropriate then, but might be too risky now. Or maybe they got scared after the 2008 crash, moved everything to cash, and accidentally left it there for 15 years, missing out on massive growth. We're not making changes today. We are just taking inventory. What is the current mix? Second, and this is a huge one, what are you paying in fees? Hidden inside every mutual fund and ETF is a fee called an expense ratio. It's the small percentage the fund company takes every single year to manage the money. And small is a dangerously misleading word. A 1% expense ratio sounds tiny, but it's not 1% of your profits. It's 1% of your entire balance year after year after year. Over 15 or 20 years, a 1% fee can devour nearly a third of your potential earnings compared to a low-cost alternative. Look through your fund documents for that expense ratio. Is it 0.05%? Great. Is it 1.25%? That's a 5-alarm fire. High fees are a guaranteed drag on your performance, a constant headwind pushing against you as you try to reach your retirement goal. We need to identify these fees now so we can eliminate them later. So let's recap our financial snapshot. You now have your net worth, your starting point. You have your cash flow analysis, which shows you the raw material you have to work with each month. And you have your investment inventory, a clear picture of your current portfolio's allocation and, most importantly, its costs. Take a breath. This is the hardest part. It's the most tedious, the most emotionally charged, but it is the absolute foundation for everything that comes next. You have replaced vague anxiety with cold, hard facts. You've turned on the lights in a dark room. You now have clarity, and with that clarity you have power. You are no longer guessing. You are no longer hoping. You are preparing to build a real plan based on real numbers. Your numbers. And now that you know exactly where you are, it's time to define with incredible precision exactly where we're going. It's time to calculate your number. This number. It's the most important number in your financial life, aside from the birthdays of your loved ones. It's not a guess. It's not a vague goal like $1 million. It's your personal freedom number. The precise amount of capital that, once accumulated, means you no longer have to trade your time for money. You work because you want to, not because you have to. For decades, the financial industry has thrown out generic, often unhelpful rules of thumb. You've heard them. You need 10 times your final salary. Or you need to replace 80% of your pre-retirement income. Let's be honest, for someone at age 50, these are practically useless. 10 times your final salary? What if you get a huge promotion at 58? What if you decide to downshift and work part-time at 62? The number becomes a moving target. And the 80% rule? It's even worse. Think about it. When you're working, a huge chunk of your income vanishes before you ever see it. You pay for Social Security, Medicare, federal and state taxes. You're stuffing 15% or more into your 401k. You have work-related expenses. Commuting costs, a professional wardrobe, lunches out. In retirement, many of these expenses disappear. Your mortgage might be paid off. Your kids are likely financially independent. So, replacing 80% of your gross income might mean you're planning to have more spending money in retirement than you do now. While that sounds nice, it can create a target number so massive, so intimidating, that it makes you want to give up before you even start. We are not going to do that. We are going to throw out the generic rules and build your number from the ground up, based on the only thing that matters, the cost of the life you actually want to live. This is the expense-based approach. We're going to figure out exactly what your life will cost on an annual basis in retirement. This is why the tracking and budgeting we talked about in the last part was so critical. You have the data. You know what you spend now. We're going to use that as our foundation. Grab a piece of paper, open a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. We're going to build your retirement budget. First, let's dream a little, but with purpose. What does your ideal retirement look like? Not some fantasy of sailing a yacht if you get seasick. I mean a realistic, joyful vision. Do you want to stay in your current home? Or downsize to a condo by the beach? Do you envision traveling internationally 3 months a year? Or buying an RV to explore America's national parks? Do you want to be near your grandkids, becoming the go-to babysitter? Or move to a city with a vibrant arts scene? Get specific. Write it down. This vision will guide every number we put on the page. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We'll break your expenses into categories. First and biggest for most is housing. If your mortgage will be paid off by the time you retire, and for a 50-year-old this should be a primary goal, you can cross that massive payment off the list. But don't forget the other costs. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance. Experts suggest budgeting 1% to 2% of your home's value annually for upkeep. A new roof, a water heater, a furnace, these things are not if, they're when. If you plan to rent, this is simpler, just estimate your monthly rent. Second, and this is the one that trips everyone up, is healthcare. This is the 800-pound gorilla in the retirement planning room, and at 50 you need to look it square in the eye. You'll be eligible for Medicare at 65, but that doesn't mean healthcare is free. Far from it. Medicare Part A, which covers hospital stays, is typically premium-free if you've worked and paid taxes for at least 10 years. But Part B, which covers doctor visits and outpatient care, has a monthly premium. In 2024, the standard premium is around $175 a month per person, and it can be higher depending on your income. Part D, for prescription drugs, also has a separate premium. And that's just the start. Medicare has deductibles and copays. it doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover dental, vision, or hearing aids. That's why most retirees purchase supplemental insurance. You might get a Medigap plan to cover the copays, or a Medicare Advantage plan, which bundles everything together. These plans add hundreds of dollars more per month per person to your budget. A healthy 65-year-old couple today should budget at least $600 to $800 a month, combined, for their total healthcare premiums. And that doesn't even include the out-of-pocket costs for the care itself. A recent Fidelity study estimated that the average 65-year-old couple will need approximately $315,000 after tax just to cover healthcare costs in retirement. Do not underestimate this number. It is better to be safe than sorry. Next up, transportation. Will you still have a car payment? Hopefully not. But you'll still have insurance, gas, and maintenance. Will you be driving less because you're not commuting? Or more because you're taking road trips? Be realistic. Then you have your daily life expenses: food, utilities, cell phone, internet. Look at your current budget for a baseline. Will you eat out more? Cook at home more? Your utility bills might go up slightly since you'll be home more during the day. And now for the fun part: discretionary spending. This is the whole point of retirement. Travel, hobbies, entertainment, gifts for the grandkids, dining out. Don't skimp here. This is your reward for a lifetime of hard work. If you want to take one big international trip a year, budget for it. $10,000? $15,000? Put it in the plan. If you want to play golf 3 times a week, add up the greens fees. This is what makes the plan yours. Finally, we need a buffer. The what if fund. Life happens. You'll need a new car eventually. The roof might need replacing sooner than you thought. Add a line item for miscellaneous and unplanned expenses. A good starting point is to take your total from all the other categories and add another 10 to 15%. This transforms your budget from fragile to resilient. Okay, add it all up. All those monthly expenses. Multiply by 12. That is your gross annual retirement spending number. Let's say, for example, it comes out to $70,000 a year. This is the annual cost of your desired retirement lifestyle. Now, how much of a nest egg do you need to generate that income, potentially for the next 30 or 40 years? This is where we can use a very helpful, time-tested guideline called the 4% rule. The 4% rule is based on research that suggests you can withdraw 4% of your initial retirement portfolio in your first year of retirement, and then adjust that amount for inflation each subsequent year, and have a very high probability of your money lasting for at least 30 years. To turn this around, we can use it to calculate our target nest egg. You simply take your required annual income from your portfolio and multiply it by 25. Or for those who prefer division, divide it by 0.04. It's the same thing. So, if your annual spending is $70,000, you might think you need $70,000 times 25, which is $1.75 million. And you might be right. But for most of us, we're forgetting a huge piece of the puzzle. We need to account for other income sources. Things like Social Security or a pension. This is money that comes in every month, no matter what the stock market is doing. You need to subtract this reliable income from your annual spending before you apply the 4% rule. Your first stop should be the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov. You can create an account and see your personalized statement, which estimates your monthly benefit at various claiming ages, like 62, 67, and 70. For our example, let's say you and your spouse together are projected to receive $30,000 a year from Social Security if you claim at your full retirement age. So, you need $70,000 a year. But you already have $30,000 coming in from Social Security. The gap, the amount your portfolio actually has to generate, is only $40,000 a year. That is the number we apply the 4% rule to. $40,000 times 25. That equals $1 million. This is your number. In this example, the freedom number is $1 million. It's not 1.75 million. It's a million. It's still a big number, but it's a real number. It's a knowable, calculated target. Go through this exercise with your own numbers. Your vision. Your expenses. Your Social Security estimate. What you are left with is the single most powerful tool for your retirement plan. It's not a vague dream anymore. It's a destination on a map. Seeing it written down might feel terrifying, or it might feel surprisingly achievable. Either reaction is normal. The point is, you are no longer in the dark. You are no longer guessing. You have replaced fear and uncertainty with clarity and math. You now know exactly what you're aiming for. This is the X, that marks the spot on your financial treasure map. And now that we know where the treasure is buried, the next step is to draw the clearest, most efficient path to get there. So we have our number, our destination, but a map is useless if you don't have a vehicle to get you there. In the world of retirement planning, your vehicle isn't a car or a boat. It's a specific set of accounts designed to be the most powerful wealth-building engines ever created. And using them correctly is the difference between a slow, frustrating crawl towards your goal and a high-speed, turbocharged journey to financial freedom. Before we look at the specific models, the 401ks, the IRAs, we have to understand the fuel that makes them so special. That fuel is tax advantage. See, most people invest in what's called a taxable brokerage account. It's simple, but it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. Every time your investments pay a dividend or you sell something for a profit, the IRS comes along and takes a piece. It's a constant drag on your growth year after year. But these special retirement accounts operate in a different reality. They come in two main flavors. The first is tax-deferred. Think of this like planting a seed. With a tax-deferred account like a traditional 401k, the government lets you plant your seed before they take their cut. You get a tax deduction today for the money you put in. That seed then grows into a mighty tree year after year, decade after decade, completely sheltered from the sun of taxation. It's only when you're 65, retired, and ready to start harvesting the fruit that you finally pay taxes on what you take out. You get to grow the entire full amount without that constant tax drag. The second flavor is even more magical. Tax-free. This is what you get with a Roth account. With a Roth, you plant your seed after you've paid taxes on it. But here's the incredible part. The tree grows and grows and grows, and every single piece of fruit, every branch, every leaf, it's all yours. 100% tax-free forever. When you harvest it in retirement, the IRS can't touch a single penny. Understanding this difference, taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free, is the absolute foundation. Now let's build your fleet, starting with the biggest and most important vehicle for most people. This is your workplace retirement plan, most commonly the 401k, or a 403b if you work for a nonprofit. This is your heavy-duty, all-terrain monster truck of retirement savings. And the first rule of the 401k is the single most important rule in all of personal finance. You must contribute enough to get the full employer match. Let me be crystal clear. If your employer offers a match, it is free money. It is a 100% guaranteed return on your investment the second you contribute. If you contribute 5% of your salary and they match it, you have instantly doubled your money. There is no stock, no bond, no piece of real estate on planet Earth that can offer you that. Not getting your full match is like your boss handing you a stack of cash and you setting it on fire in the parking lot. It is financial malpractice. Before you do anything else, pay off debt, save for a car, anything, you get your full 401k match. Now, here's where being 50 becomes a superpower. The government knows you're in the home stretch, so they give you a special tool. It's called the catch-up contribution. In 2024, the normal maximum you can contribute to a 401k is $23,000. But because you are 50 or older, you can contribute an additional $7,500. That brings your total potential contribution to a whopping $30,500 per year. Think about what that means. That extra $7,500 a year from age 50 to 65 is an extra $112,500 of principal you can pour into your retirement accounts. With even modest growth, that alone could be worth over $150,000 by the time you retire. This catch-up provision isn't just a small bonus. It is a game-changing accelerator designed specifically for you. It's the government giving you a turbo button for the final laps of your race. You need to use it. Next up in your fleet is the sleek, versatile sports car. The Individual Retirement Arrangement, or IRA. This is an account you open on your own, separate from your employer. And just like with cars, you have a couple of main models, the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. The traditional IRA works like your 401k, you get a tax deduction now, and you pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement. The Roth IRA is the opposite, you put in after-tax money, but it grows and comes out completely tax-free. So, which one is for you? The simple answer is, it depends on your taxes. If you believe you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement than you are today, the traditional IRA makes a lot of sense. Take the tax break now while your income is high. But if you think your tax rate might be the same or even higher in the future, or if you simply love the certainty of tax-free income, the Roth IRA is an absolute masterpiece. For many people, having a mix of both tax-deferred and tax-free money in retirement is the ultimate goal. giving you the flexibility to manage your tax bill each year. And just like your 401k, the IRA also has a catch-up provision. For 2024, the limit is $7,000, but for those 50 and over, you can add an extra $1,000, for a total of $8,000. It might not sound like as much, but every single dollar placed in a tax-advantaged account is a dollar that's working exponentially harder for you. Now, what if you make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA directly? Don't worry, there's a well-known strategy for that called the backdoor Roth IRA. It sounds complex, but it's simple. You contribute to a non-deductible traditional IRA, which has no income limits, and then you immediately convert that money into a Roth IRA. It's a two-step process that allows high-income earners to get money into a Roth, and it is completely legal. Okay, we have the monster truck 401k and the sports car IRA. Now it's time to reveal the secret weapon in your garage. This is the vehicle that financial professionals get giddy about. It's the Health Savings Account, or HSA. If you have a high-deductible health plan, you may be eligible for an HSA, and if you are, you have access to the single greatest retirement account in existence. I am not exaggerating. An HSA is the unicorn of investing. It has a triple tax advantage. Let me repeat that. A triple tax advantage. 1. The money you put in is tax-deductible, just like a traditional IRA. 2. The money inside the account grows completely tax-free, just like a Roth IRA. 3. When you withdraw the money for qualified medical expenses, it comes out, you guessed it, completely tax-free. There is no other account in the US tax code that does all three. Here's the super strategy. Many people don't use their HSA to pay for today's medical bills. Instead, they pay for their doctor's visits and prescriptions out of pocket and save the receipts. They leave the money in the HSA to be invested and to grow tax-free for decades. Then, 15 years later in retirement, they can reimburse themselves for all those old medical bills they saved receipts for, pulling out tens of thousands of dollars, completely tax-free. And since healthcare is one of the biggest expenses for retirees, you're basically creating a tax-free slush fund for your future medical needs. It is an unbelievably powerful tool. So, with all these accounts, where do you put your money first? You need an order of operations, a clear step-by-step plan. Think of it like a waterfall. Step 1. Pour your money into your 401k until you get every single penny of your employer match. This is the first and most important bucket to fill. Step 2. If you have an HSA, max it out. The triple tax advantage is too powerful to ignore. Fill this bucket to the brim. Step 3. Now max out your IRA. For most people, a Roth IRA is the preferred choice for the tax-free growth, but a traditional IRA can also be a great option. Fill this bucket. Step 4. The waterfall now flows back to your 401k. You've already gotten the match, but now you keep contributing until you hit the absolute legal maximum, including your $7,500 catch-up contribution. Step 5. If, and this is a fantastic if, you have maxed out all of those accounts and you still have money left to invest, now you can fill up the final bucket, a regular taxable brokerage account. This waterfall strategy ensures that you are systematically taking maximum advantage of every tax-sheltered dollar available to you. You are putting your money into the most powerful engines first, in the right order, to get you to your destination as fast and efficiently as possible. We've just built your fleet. You have the powerful 401k, the nimble IRA, and the secret weapon HSA. You know the order in which to deploy your capital. You have the vehicles. But a vehicle, no matter how powerful, is useless if you don't put the right kind of fuel in the tank. What do you actually buy inside these accounts? Stocks? Bonds? Mutual funds? That is the next critical piece of the puzzle, and it's exactly where we're going next. Let's dive into the engine room. This is where the real power of your retirement plan is generated. You've got the right accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, but now we have to decide what to put inside them. And if this part feels intimidating, you're not alone. The financial industry has spent billions of dollars making this seem impossibly complex. A world of confusing charts and jargon, designed to make you feel like you need an expensive guide just to navigate the maze. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. The most important decision you'll make about your investments isn't about picking the next hot stock. It's not about finding some hidden gem or timing the market perfectly. In fact, studies have shown that over 90% of your investment returns are determined by one single thing: your asset allocation. That's it. Asset allocation. It's a fancy term for a very simple idea: how you divide your money between different types of investments. Think of it like packing for a long journey. You wouldn't just pack beach clothes if you might end up in the mountains. You'd pack for different conditions. Your investment portfolio is the same. You need to prepare it for different economic conditions. For our purposes, especially at age 50, we can simplify this entire universe of options down to two primary buckets. Just two: the growth bucket and the stability bucket. Let's start with the growth bucket. This is your engine. This is what will propel your portfolio forward and, most importantly, beat the silent retirement killer we call inflation. The primary tool in this bucket is stocks, also known as equities. When you buy a stock, you are buying a tiny sliver of ownership in a real business. A piece of Apple or Costco, or your local utility company. If that company does well, if its profits grow and it becomes more valuable, the value of your tiny sliver goes up too. Now at 50, you might be thinking, wait a minute. Stocks are risky. The market goes up and down. Shouldn't I be playing it safe? And that's a valid concern. Stocks are volatile in the short term. But here's the critical mindset shift you need to make at 50. Your retirement isn't starting tomorrow. If you plan to retire at 65 and live to 95, you have a 45-year time horizon. 45 years. You are still a long-term investor. You need your money to grow for decades to come, not just sit there. Over any 20-year period in history, the stock market has never lost money. It is the single most powerful tool ever created for building wealth over time. Your growth bucket is what ensures you don't run out of money when you're 85. Now for the second bucket, the stability bucket. If stocks are the engine, this bucket is your suspension and your brakes. It's designed to smooth out the ride and protect you during the inevitable downturns. The main tool here is bonds. When you buy a bond, you're not buying ownership. You're making a loan. You are lending money to a government or a corporation, and in return they promise to pay you back in full at a future date, with regular interest payments along the way. Think about it. When the economy gets scary and stock prices are falling, what becomes more attractive? A risky piece of ownership in a company facing uncertainty? Or a stable IOU from the US government that guarantees your money back plus interest? Bonds provide that safety. They often go up when stocks go down, acting as a crucial shock absorber for your portfolio. They won't give you the thrilling growth of stocks, but that's not their job. Their job is to be the calm, steady hand that lets you sleep at night when the markets are in a panic. So we have our two buckets, growth and stability, stocks and bonds. The big question is, how much do you put in each? This is your asset allocation. And while it's a personal decision, there's a classic rule of thumb that provides an excellent starting point. It's called the 110 rule. You simply take the number 110 and subtract your age. The result is the percentage of your portfolio you should consider putting in the growth bucket in stocks. So for you at age 50, 110 minus 50 equals 60. This suggests a starting point of a 60-40 portfolio. 60% of your money in stocks for growth, and 40% in bonds for stability. This is a classic balanced approach. It gives you significant exposure to the long-term growth of the market, while still having a very substantial cushion to protect you from volatility. As you get older, say at age 60, the formula would suggest shifting to 50% stocks. At 70-40% stocks. You see how it works? Your portfolio automatically becomes more conservative as you approach and move through retirement. Now, is this a rigid law? Absolutely not. It's a guideline. If you have a very stable pension, a high tolerance for risk, and plan to work until you're 70, you might lean more towards 70% stocks. If the thought of a market drop keeps you up at night and you value security above all else, you might lean towards 50% stocks. But 60-40 is a fantastic, time-tested starting point for a 50-year-old. Okay, so we've decided on our mix. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. But this leads to the next paralyzing question. Which stocks and which bonds? There are thousands to choose from. This is the point where most people throw up their hands and just let a financial advisor take a huge cut. But you don't have to. Because the simplest solution is also one of the most powerful, index funds. Imagine a giant haystack. Inside that haystack are a few golden needles, the stocks that will be the biggest winners. The old way of investing was to spend all your time and money trying to find those individual needles. It's incredibly difficult, and even the professionals are terrible at it. An index fund takes a radically different approach. It says, why search for the needle? Let's just buy the whole haystack. A stock market index fund buys a tiny piece of every stock in a particular market index. For example, an S&P 500 index fund buys you a small slice of the 500 largest companies in the United States. With one single purchase, you are instantly diversified across the entire top tier of the American economy. You own a piece of the innovators, the manufacturers, the retailers, everyone. You are guaranteed to capture the overall return of the market. Similarly, a total bond market index fund buys a huge variety of government and corporate bonds, giving you instant diversification in your stability bucket. This strategy of buying the whole market has two unbelievable advantages. First, as we said, is instant diversification. You eliminate the risk of one or two bad companies sinking your entire portfolio. Second, and this is crucial, is cost. Because these funds are passively managed by a computer, they just buy what's on the index. Their fees, known as expense ratios, are incredibly low. We're talking fractions of a penny on the dollar. Actively managed mutual funds, where a person is trying to pick the needles, charge fees that are often 10, 20, even 50 times higher. Those fees act like a constant drag on your returns, year after year, and can consume hundreds of thousands of dollars of your nest egg over time. So let's bring this all together into a concrete, actionable plan. You've got your 401k and your Roth IRA. You've decided on a 60/40 asset allocation. Now, you log into your account, and you can implement this entire sophisticated strategy by buying just two things. You would put 60% of your money into a low-cost total stock market index fund, or an S&P 500 index fund. And you would put the other 40% into a low-cost total bond market index fund. That's it. That's the whole strategy. With two simple funds, you have built a portfolio that is diversified, incredibly low cost, and historically proven to outperform the vast majority of professional money managers. You have harnessed the growth of the entire economy while building in a powerful safety net. You've taken control. We've now designed the vehicle, and we've filled it with the right high-performance fuel. The engine is ready to run for decades. But there's one giant question left. Where are we driving? How do we know how much is enough? How big does that nest egg, that final number in your account, actually need to be to support you for the rest of your life without you ever having to worry about running out? Calculating that magic number is perhaps the most empowering step of all. It turns a vague dream into a concrete target, and that is precisely what we are going to do next. So let's do it. Let's calculate your number. This process is the financial equivalent of turning on the GPS for a cross-country road trip. Before, you were just heading west. Now, you're going to have an exact destination, a street address for your retirement. The most famous and time-tested tool for this is something called the 4% rule. Don't let the name intimidate you. The concept is beautifully simple. It was developed by financial planner William Bengen back in the 1990s. He ran historical data for decades and found that if you withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio in your first year of retirement, and then adjust that amount for inflation each year after, there is a very, very high probability your money will last for at least 30 years. Think of it this way: the 4% rule is our Rosetta Stone. It allows us to translate the annual income you need into the total nest egg you must have. It turns a yearly expense into a one-time savings goal. To get to that goal, we have 3 simple steps. Step 1. Figure out your annual retirement spending. We did the heavy lifting on this in the last part when we envisioned your ideal retirement lifestyle. Pull out that number you came up with. Let's say, for example, after thinking it all through, the travel, the hobbies, the day-to-day costs, you determined you need $75,000 a year to live your ideal retired life. Now, it's critical to remember this is your spending number, not your pre-retirement income number. For most people, these are very different. Your mortgage might be paid off. You're no longer saving 15% of your income for retirement because you're in retirement. Your kids are likely financially independent. So, for our example, we'll use a target of $75,000 in annual expenses. Step 2. Subtract any guaranteed income you'll receive in retirement. Your retirement income won't come from just one place. You don't need your investment portfolio to generate that entire $75,000. You have other sources. The big one for most Americans is Social Security. If you don't have a recent statement, the easiest way to get a reliable estimate is to go to ssa.gov and create a My Social Security account. It takes about 10 minutes, and it will give you a personalized estimate of your benefits at different claiming ages. It is an absolutely essential step. Do you have a pension? Many people in their 50s, especially those who worked in government, education, or for certain older corporations, still have some form of pension. If you do, find that paperwork and get the estimate of your monthly or annual payout. Do you have rental property that generates income? An annuity? Add all of these reliable non-investment income streams together. Let's go back to our example. You need $75,000 a year. You log into your Social Security account and see that if you claim at your full retirement age, you'll receive about $2,500 a month, which is $30,000 a year. You don't have a pension, but your spouse does, a small one that will pay out $10,000 a year. So your total guaranteed income is $40,000. Now we do the simple math. Your total need is $75,000. Your guaranteed income is $40,000. That means the amount your personal investments need to generate each year. The gap you need to fill is $35,000. Suddenly, this is feeling a lot more manageable, isn't it? You don't need a portfolio that can spit out $75,000 a year. You need one that can cover $35,000. This brings us to step 3. Apply the 4% rule to find your magic number. If you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year, how big does the portfolio need to be to make sure that 4% equals your income gap? The math is incredibly simple. You just take your annual income gap and multiply it by 25. That's it. Why 25? Because 4% goes into 100% 25 times. Multiplying by 25 is just the inverse of dividing by 4%. So, in our example, we take the $35,000 gap and multiply it by 25. The result is $875,000. That is the magic number. That is the destination. That is the amount of money you need to have invested by the day you retire in order to generate the $35,000 you need year after year for the rest of your life. Let's walk through one more, slightly more complex story. Meet David and Maria, both 53. They sit down on a Saturday morning, determined to finally figure this out. First, they map out their retirement life. They want to sell their large family home and downsize to a condo in a warmer state, which will lower their property taxes and utilities. They want to buy an RV and take 2 long road trips a year. They also want to be able to fly to see their grandkids twice a year and help them a bit with college. After budgeting it all out, they land on a goal of $90,000 per year in spending. Second, they tally their guaranteed income. They both log into their Social Security accounts. David's benefit at 67 is projected to be $32,000 a year. Maria worked part-time for many years while raising the kids, so hers is smaller at $18,000 a year. Their combined Social Security income is $50,000. David also has a small pension from a job he had in his 20s and 30s that will pay $500 a month, or $6,000 a year. So their total guaranteed income is $56,000. Third, they find the gap. They need $90,000. They have $56,000 covered. The difference, the amount their 401(k)s, IRAs, and other investments need to produce, is $34,000 per year. Finally, they apply the rule. They take that $34,000 gap and multiply it by 25. Their number, their specific, concrete, actionable retirement goal is $850,000. For the first time, David and Maria aren't just saving for retirement. They are saving for a very specific target. They can now look at their current account balances and know exactly what they're aiming for. Changes everything. Now you might be thinking, is the 4% rule still perfect? It's a fair question. Some financial experts now argue for a more conservative 3.5% withdrawal rate, which would mean multiplying your gap by 28.5 instead of 25. Others argue that with a balanced portfolio, 4% is still a perfectly reasonable guideline. For our purposes, it is the best starting point there is. It gets you in the right ballpark, and you can adjust up or down based on your personal risk tolerance. There's one more crucial layer we have to add: taxes. The number we just calculated, that $875,000 or $850,000, is almost certainly a pre-tax number. Most of your retirement savings are likely in traditional 401(k)s or IRAs. When you pull money out of those accounts, it's treated as ordinary income, and you will owe federal and, in most cases, state income tax on it. This means that to get $35,000 in your pocket, you might need to withdraw, say, $42,000 to account for taxes. And if you need to withdraw $42,000, your target nest egg suddenly becomes $1,050,000. This is why having a mix of accounts, some tax-deferred like a 401(k) and some tax-free like a Roth IRA, can be so incredibly powerful in retirement. We're going to dedicate an entire future part to building a tax-efficient withdrawal strategy, but for now, just be aware of it. Your number might need to be 15 to 20% higher to account for the tax man. Please don't let that discourage you. And please don't be panicked if the number you just calculated for yourself seems impossibly large. The absolute worst thing you can do is get scared and shut down. Knowing the number is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. Knowing your destination is the single most critical piece of information you need. Because if your number is $1 million, and you currently only have half that, we don't just throw our hands up and quit. No, we build a plan. We now know the distance we need to travel over the next 10 to 15 years. We can calculate the speed we need to save at. We can make intelligent, informed decisions about our investments and our savings rate. You now have your target. The question that is probably burning in your mind right now is, am I on track to hit it? Looking at your current savings and projecting them forward, will you get there in time? That projection, that reality check, is the next critical piece of the puzzle. And it's what we'll build together in the very next part. Let's get brutally honest with the numbers. This is where the dream meets the spreadsheet. To do this, you don't need to be a Wall Street wizard. You just need to understand 3 core components that will determine your future wealth: your starting point, your contribution rate, and your rate of return. First, your starting point. That's the total amount you have saved for retirement right now. Your 401ks, your IRAs, any other investment accounts earmarked for this goal. Add it all up. That's your principal, the seed from which your retirement tree will grow. Second, your contribution rate. This is the new money you're adding to the pile every single year. Your contributions, your spouse's contributions, and critically, any employer match you receive. That match is free money, and it's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools you have. If you're saving $10,000 a year and your company is matching $5,000, your annual contribution is $15,000. Don't ever forget the match. And third, the most mysterious and powerful piece of the equation, your rate of return. This is the growth your money achieves all on its own, through the magic of compound interest. Over the next 15 to 20 years, the return you get on your investments will likely have a bigger impact on your final number than the new money you save. Think about that. The work your money does for you can eventually become more important than the work you do for your money. So what rate of return should you use for your projection? This is a place where it's easy to get it wrong. You might look up the historical average of the S&P 500 and see it's around 10% per year. It's tempting to plug that number in and watch your projected wealth explode. But that would be a mistake. That 10% figure doesn't account for inflation, which eats away at your purchasing power every year. For planning purposes, we need to use a real rate of return, which is your investment return minus the rate of inflation. A much more sober and realistic planning assumption for a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds is somewhere between 5% and 7%. Being conservative here is your best friend. Why? Because if you plan using a 6% return and you end up getting 8%, you'll have a wonderful surplus. But if you plan on 10% and you only get 6%, you could face a catastrophic shortfall. It's always better to over-prepare and be pleasantly surprised than to overpromise and be devastatingly disappointed. Let's choose a reasonable 7% for our example. Okay, let's put it all together in a hypothetical scenario. Let's meet Sarah. Sarah's 50. She's done the hard work of tracking her expenses and has her retirement magic number. She needs $1.5 million to retire comfortably at age 67. She looks at her accounts. Her starting point is $350,000. Not bad, but is it enough? Next, her contributions. Between her own savings and her company match, she is consistently putting away $22,000 a year into her 401k. Her time horizon is 17 years, from age 50 to 67, and will use that 7% average annual rate of return. So, how do we project this? You can find 100 free compound interest or investment calculators online. You just plug in the numbers. First, we see what her current $350,000 will grow into over 17 years at 7%. The calculator will tell you that lump sum, left untouched, will grow to about $1,105,000. That's the power of compounding. Her money more than tripled without her adding another dime. But she is adding another dime. She's adding $22,000 every single year. So we also need to calculate the future value of those annual contributions. When you plug that into a calculator, $22,000 a year for 17 years at 7%, you get about $700,000. Now we add the two together. The growth of her starting pot plus the growth of all her future savings. $1,105,000 plus $700,000 gives us a grand total. At age 67, Sarah is projected to have approximately $1,805,000. This is the moment of truth. We take her projected nest egg $1.8 million, and we place it right next to her retirement goal, her magic number of $1.5 million. In this case, Sarah has a projected surplus of $300,000. The feeling is relief. It's validation. All those years of disciplined saving, of saying no to some things to say yes to her future, it paid off. She's on track. In fact, she's ahead of schedule. This knowledge gives her options. Maybe she can retire a year or two earlier. Maybe she can plan for more travel. Maybe she can dial back her investment risk as she gets closer to the finish line. This is a fantastic position to be in. But what if the numbers told a different story? Let's rewind. Let's say Sarah's magic number wasn't $1.5 million. Let's say after calculating her expenses, she realized she needed $2 million. Now, she holds up her projection of $1.8 million next to her goal of $2 million. She has a gap, a $200,000 shortfall. What is the feeling now? For most people, it's a knot in the pit of their stomach. It's a wave of anxiety. It feels like a failing grade on a test you've been studying for your whole life. You might think, I've been saving for decades and it's still not enough? It's too late. I've failed. I need you to listen to me very carefully. If your projection shows a gap, that number is not a judgment. It is not a sign of failure. It is simply information. It is the most valuable piece of information you can possibly have right now. For the first time, you are not operating on hope or fear or a vague guess. You are operating on data. You have replaced a fuzzy anxiety with a concrete number. Knowing you have a $200,000 shortfall is infinitely more powerful than just feeling like you're behind. A vague feeling leads to paralysis. A concrete number leads to a plan. That number doesn't tell you the game is over. It tells you exactly what you're playing for. It defines the size of the challenge ahead. Think of it like this: you're on a road trip from Denver to Los Angeles. Your retirement goal is LA. Looking at your savings projection is like checking the GPS and the fuel gauge for the first time. The GPS says you have 200 miles left to go. But the fuel gauge says you only have enough gas for 150 miles. You don't just pull over and give up on the side of the highway. That would be absurd. You now have critical information. You know you have a 50-mile fuel gap. So you start making a plan. Can I drive more efficiently? Is there a gas station on the route? Can I take a slightly shorter path? That is exactly where we are now. Whether you have a surplus or you're right on track or you have a gap to close, you now have your coordinates. You know where you are and you know where you need to go. The question that hangs in the air is, how do I get there from here? If you have a shortfall, what are the levers you can pull? What are the strategies you can implement over the next 15 years to close that gap, dollar by dollar, until it's gone? Because there are levers, powerful ones, and pulling the right ones in the right combination is the art and science of turning a scary projection into an achievable reality. That is the blueprint we are drawing up next. This blueprint has 4 main levers. Think of it like the control panel for your financial future. When the projection looks scary, you don't panic. You walk up to the control panel and you start making strategic adjustments. Some levers require a gentle push. Others might need a stronger pull. The key is knowing which ones to use and how they work together. The first and most powerful lever is the supercharge your savings lever. At 50, you are entering the most critical savings window of your entire life. Your peak earning years are likely now or in the very near future. The kids might be out of the house or close to it. The mortgage might be on its last legs. This is the moment when the financial headwinds you've been fighting for decades finally turn into tailwinds. And you need to capture that wind. The US government knows this. They've built a special booster rocket just for people your age. It's called the catch-up contribution. If you have a 401k or a 403b, in 2024, you can contribute up to $23,000. But once you hit age 50, you can add an extra $7,500 on top of that. For an IRA, you can add an extra $1,000. This isn't a loophole, it's a lifeline. It is the single most effective tool you have to rapidly close a retirement gap. Let's make this real. That extra $7,500 a year, from age 50 to 65, if it grows at a conservative 7%, that's an extra $190,000 in your retirement account. That's not from a magic stock pick. That's just from systematically pulling the lever the government handed you. It's the difference between retiring at 65 and working until 68. It's the difference between worrying about every medical bill and sleeping soundly at night. The question I always get is, but where does that money come from? Look at your cash flow. Did you just pay off a car? That $400 a month payment doesn't just disappear into a lifestyle upgrade. It gets rerouted automatically directly into your 401k before you can even touch it. Did you get a 3% raise? That money is now your catch-up contribution. You never had it in your budget before, so you won't miss it. You are redirecting future cash flow to buy future freedom. The second lever is the expense optimization lever. I don't like the phrase, cut your spending. Feels like deprivation. Feels like a diet. Optimization is different. It's about being ruthlessly efficient, making sure every single dollar you spend is aligned with your ultimate goal of financial independence. We're not talking about skipping your morning coffee. While that helps, it's a rounding error compared to the big stuff. At 50, you need to think about the tectonic plates of your budget: housing and transportation. These two categories consume the largest portion of most American budgets. A 5% optimization here is worth more than a 50% optimization everywhere else. Let's talk about the house. For many 50-year-olds, the family home is now bigger than they need. The kids' rooms are empty. You're heating, cooling, and insuring space you barely use. Downsizing isn't a sign of failure. It's a brilliant strategic move. Imagine selling your 4-bedroom suburban home and buying a 2-bedroom condo or a smaller house in a more affordable area. You could potentially unlock hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. That money goes straight into your investment portfolio. A massive injection of fuel for your retirement engine. And it's not just a one-time cash infusion. Your property taxes drop. Your insurance costs go down. Your utility bills shrink. You have permanently reduced your cost of living, which means the nest egg you've built doesn't have to work as hard. You've lowered the bar for what it takes to be financially free. The same logic applies to transportation. Is your 2-car household still a necessity? Or is it a habit? The true cost of owning a second car, insurance, gas, maintenance, depreciation, can easily be $5,000 to $10,000 a year. What if you became a 1-car household? That's an extra $5,000 to $10,000 a year you can plow directly into your retirement accounts. This isn't about giving up your freedom. It's about buying a different, more profound kind of freedom. The third lever is the most misunderstood of all. We'll call it the time machine lever. This is the lever that controls your retirement date. For most people, the thought of working longer is a nightmare. But I want you to reframe it. Working just 1 or 2 more years is the financial equivalent of a superpower. Think about the triple impact of working until age 67 instead of 65. First, you get 2 more years of your investments compounding without you touching them. For a $1 million portfolio, that could mean an extra $150,000 of growth, completely passive. Second, you get 2 more years of maximum contributions. You're not just letting your money grow. You're actively force-feeding your nest egg, adding another $60,000 or more from your own savings. But the third benefit is the most powerful. By working 2 more years, you have 2 fewer years of retirement to fund. You've shortened the marathon. If you need your money to last for 30 years, and you just chop that down to 28, you've dramatically reduced the stress on your portfolio. The combination of these 3 effects, more growth, more savings, and less time, is explosive. A 2-year delay can completely erase a 6-figure retirement shortfall. And this doesn't have to mean 2 more years in a high-stress job you hate. This is where you can get creative. Maybe you transition to a part-time consulting role in your field. Maybe you start a bridge job, something lower stress that covers your living expenses, allowing your retirement portfolio to just sit and marinate for a few more years. You are not delaying your life. You are designing a more controlled, more secure, and ultimately more enjoyable exit from the traditional workforce. Finally, we have the fourth lever, the investment accelerator. This is about making sure your money is working as hard as it can for you, without taking foolish risks. The biggest mistake people make at 50 is getting too conservative too soon. They see the finish line, they get scared, and they pull all their money out of the stock market and hide it in cash or bonds. This feels safe, but it's actually one of the biggest risks you can take. You're not planning for next year. You're planning for the next 30 years. Your retirement portfolio needs to fight a 30-year war against inflation. If inflation averages 3%, $1 million today will only have the purchasing power of about $400,000 in 30 years. Cash and low-yield bonds will lose that war. They are guaranteed to lose purchasing power over time. This doesn't mean you should be 100% in aggressive growth stocks. Of course not. But it does mean that at age 50 and even at age 60, a healthy allocation to stocks, perhaps 50 or 60% of your portfolio, is not just appropriate, it's necessary. You need that growth engine to ensure your money outlasts you. This is about finding the right balance for your risk tolerance. A portfolio that lets you participate in market growth while having enough stable assets to weather the downturns. It's about shifting from pure accumulation to a strategy of growth and preservation. So there they are. The 4 levers on your control panel. Supercharge your savings, optimize your expenses, control your timeline, and accelerate your investments. The real magic, the true art of this plan, isn't about yanking one of these levers all the way to the maximum. It's not about saving 50% of your income or working until you're 75. It's about making small, deliberate, and sustainable adjustments across all 4. A little more in savings, a slightly smaller house, maybe 1 more year of part-time work, and a sensible investment mix. Together, these seemingly small moves create a powerful synergy, a compounding effect that can take a retirement plan that looks impossible and transform it into an absolute certainty. You've now designed the engine of your retirement. You've tuned it, you've calibrated it, and you've confirmed it has the power to get you to your destination. But even the most powerful engine is useless if it's not protected. What happens if you get hit by a financial meteor? A long-term illness, a market crash at the worst possible time, or an unexpected family crisis? Building the plan is only half the battle. Now we have to build the armor. This armor is built from 3 critical layers: your insurance shield, your liquidity moat, and your market volatility fortress. Let's start with the shield, because it protects you from the sudden catastrophic blows that can shatter even the most well-funded plan. First, and most critically for someone in their 50s, is health insurance. Between now and age 65, when Medicare kicks in, you are in the most vulnerable period for healthcare costs. A single major medical event, a heart attack, a cancer diagnosis, can generate bills in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is the #1 cause of personal bankruptcy in America for a reason. If you have employer-sponsored health care, understand it inside and out. If you're self-employed or planning an early retirement before 65, navigating the ACA marketplace is not optional. It's essential. And please do not overlook the power of a health savings account, or HSA. If you have a high-deductible plan, an HSA is the single greatest retirement tool in existence. It's triple tax advantaged. The money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free for qualified medical expenses. At 50, you have 15 years to build a substantial medical war chest for retirement. Max it out. Next is the one nobody wants to talk about: long-term care insurance. This isn't health insurance. This is for when you need help with daily living activities, getting dressed, eating, bathing, either at home or in a facility. The median cost for a private room in a nursing home is now over $100,000 a year. Per year. That will drain a multi-million-dollar nest egg with terrifying speed. At 50, you're in the sweet spot where premiums are still somewhat manageable. Waiting until 60 or 65 can make it prohibitively expensive, or you may be denied for health reasons. Think of it less as insurance and more as wealth preservation. It's a shield for your assets, ensuring your spouse isn't left destitute, and your children don't have to sacrifice their own financial futures to care for you. Explore traditional policies, but also look at hybrid life insurance or annuity policies that have a long-term care rider. Then there's disability insurance. You might think, I'm only 10 or 15 years from retirement, why bother? Because those are your peak earning years. An injury or illness that forces you out of the workforce at 52 could cut your final savings potential by hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's the bridge that carries your income over the chasm of an unexpected health crisis, allowing your retirement plan to continue growing untouched. Review your employer's policy and consider a private one to fill any gaps. Finally, reevaluate your life insurance. The policy you bought at 30 to protect your young family might serve a different purpose now. Is it still needed for income replacement? Or is its new job to provide liquidity for your spouse, pay off a mortgage, cover estate taxes, or leave a defined legacy for your children or a charity? Your needs have changed, and your policy should reflect that. That's the shield. Now for the liquidity moat. This is the cash and cash equivalents that surround your castle, protecting it from having to be sold off in a crisis. This moat has 2 parts. The first is your classic emergency fund. But at 50, an emergency is different. It's not just a leaky roof. It could be a 6-month or year-long job search in an industry that's less friendly to older workers. It could be needing to fly across the country to care for an aging parent. Your 3 to 6-month emergency fund of your 30s should now be a 6 to 12-month fund, covering all essential living expenses. This money should be in a high-yield savings account, safe, liquid, and separate from your investments. The second part of the moat is your retirement cash bucket. This is a game changer. This is 1 to 2 years' worth of your anticipated retirement living expenses, held in cash or ultra-safe, short-term bonds. Why? To solve the single biggest risk in early retirement: sequence of returns risk. This brings us to our third layer of armor, the market volatility fortress. Sequence of returns risk sounds complicated, but it's simple. Bad returns in your first few years of retirement, when you're also withdrawing money, can cripple your portfolio's ability to last for 30 years. Imagine two people, both with $1 million portfolio. One retires into a bull market, and their portfolio grows to $1.2 million even as they take withdrawals. The other retires right before a 30% crash. Their portfolio drops to $700,000, and then they have to withdraw $40,000 for living expenses, shrinking it even further. They are selling their assets at bargain basement prices. Even if the market recovers later, they may never catch up. It's a death blow. Your cash bucket is the ultimate defense against this. When the market tanks in year 1 or 2 of your retirement, you don't panic. You don't sell a single share of stock. You simply live off your cash bucket. You give your portfolio the time it needs to recover without being cannibalized at the worst possible moment. Building the fortress also means methodically de-risking your portfolio as you approach your retirement date. This doesn't mean selling all your stocks and hiding in cash. It means creating a glide path. If you're at 80% stocks and 20% bonds today, you might shift to 75/25 next year, then 70/30, and so on, until you reach your target retirement allocation, maybe 60/40 or 50/50 by the time you hand in your resignation. This is a gradual, disciplined reduction of risk that locks in gains and reduces your exposure to a sudden market shock right before you need the money. And once you have this fortress designed, you must stress test it. You have to play war games. Use retirement calculators that run Monte Carlo simulations, thousands of what-if scenarios based on historical data. What happens to your plan if the market has a lost decade? What if inflation averages 5%? What if you're forced to retire 2 years earlier than planned? A good plan doesn't just work when everything goes right. A great plan survives when everything goes wrong. Stress testing reveals the cracks in your armor before the battle begins. So we've built the plan. We've built the armor. We've covered the numbers, the accounts, the strategies. But the final, most important step isn't about math. It's about mindset. For the last 30 years, you have been in accumulation mode. Your entire financial identity has been about saving, investing, and growing that number. The day you retire, the game flips entirely. You enter preservation and distribution mode. You have to shift from being a saver to being a responsible spender. You have to become the chief financial officer of your own life, managing a payroll for yourself that needs to last for the rest of your life. This is a profound psychological shift, and it can be jarring. Prepare for it, and understand that this plan you've created is not a static document to be framed and hung on the wall. It is a living, breathing roadmap. You must review it at a minimum once a year. Life will happen. The market will change. Your health will change. Your family's needs will change. You might decide you want to move or start a business or help a grandchild with college. Your plan must be flexible enough to adapt to the reality of your life, not the other way around. Finally, I want you to take a step back from the spreadsheets and the calculators for a moment and ask yourself one last question. Why? Why are you doing all of this? The goal isn't to die with the biggest possible number in a bank account. The goal is to fund a life. What does that life look like? Is it traveling the world? Is it spending 6 months a year in a cabin by the lake? Is it volunteering for a cause you believe in? Is it being able to help your kids and spoil your grandkids without a shred of financial anxiety? Get specific. Write it down. Create a vision board. Because when you connect every dollar you save, every investment you make, every difficult choice you face to a tangible, exciting, and meaningful vision of your future, the process is no longer a chore. It becomes an act of creation. You are not just planning for retirement. You are building the life you've always wanted. You've made it through this entire guide, which tells me you are serious. You have the knowledge. You have the roadmap. The journey from age 50 to retirement isn't a long, slow marathon anymore. It's a focused sprint. The single most important thing you can do now is take action. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Open that spreadsheet. Calculate that number. Make that phone call to a financial advisor. Have that conversation with your spouse. The you of tomorrow, the you sitting on a porch, coffee in hand with a sense of peace and security, that person is counting on you right now to take the first step. You can do this. Now go build your future.